the Gitrog Monster versus Jhoira of the Ghitu. Yeah, one land hand, and even if we got into, well, if we get into Rampant Growth, Kadama's Reach, but we're on the play, so yeah, I'm going to throw that back. There's no guarantee we'll draw into a land next turn. Okay, that's not particularly great either, but we can get Expedition Map down and then go in for something off of Expedition Map the turn after. Not too worried about a Maze of Ith, so we'll scry that to the bottom. Going for Command Tower. Expedition Map is to uncrack, and we can go for a land from our library, put it into our hand. Jhoira of the Ghitu is 3 mana in Is It for a 2/2, and then for 2 generic mana, exile a non-land card from your hand. You put 4 time counters on it, and if it isn't suspended, it gains suspend, so you cheat out big spells, basically. Yeah, I think we're just going to go for a cracked Expedition Map. Raven's Crime. Yeah, just have to crack the Expedition Map, set ourselves up for a Gitrog Monster. Probably go for Ancient Tomb. Gitrog Monster is a 5 mana Golgari. And I think I might have F6 there. Yeah, I just wanted to crack the Expedition Map first, and then we can F6. There we go, might have almost made a mistake there. The Gitrog Monster, 5 mana, 6/6 with Death Touch. Golgari, at the beginning of our upkeep, we sack it or a land. Whenever a land enters our graveyard from anywhere, we draw a card, but we can play an additional land on each of our turns. Okay, Raven's Crime, we might as well... Oh, actually, we don't have enough black mana for that, do we? So scratch that. Yeah, because we want to entomb for Life from the Loam. But we can do that at the end of our opponent's turn, so that's fine. Okay, our opponent so far has a Sky Diamond and a Warm Power Stone. We're going to go for Entomb and grab ourselves a Life from the Loam. Life from the Loam goes pretty well with Raven's Crime. We might be able to have our opponent discard their hand over the course of a turn or two. And then we do want Life from the Loam in our hand. So we mill there, we get rid of Decree of Pain, Harrow and Swamp. Get the Reliquary Tower and go for the Gitrog Monster. Unfortunately don't have an extra land to play from the hand. Pretty risky getting out Gitrog when we've only got 4 lands in play, but we do have Life from the Loam. So if Gitrog sticks around, I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get multiple lands into play off of a Life from the Loam. What our opponent could do is force us to sacrifice with the Gitrog Monster and then bounce it, so that we get no upside. We'll kill the Reliquary Tower, draw a card from Gitrog. Okay, we get Cabal Coffers and a Forest. Let's go for... We'll go for Raven's Crime first, actually. Make our opponent discard a card. And then we'll go for Life from the Loam. We'll grab back Reliquary Tower and a Swamp. And then we can go for Swamp and a Forest. And the Cabal Coffers is doing nothing for us, so I am going to cast Raven's Crime from the graveyard. We can do that for its mana cost, for as long as we can discard a land. And every time we discard a land, we'll draw from the Gitrog. And I am going to grab back Life from the Loam with that. And we drew another card from milling ourselves a Wasteland, so we got into Thespian Stage there. Our opponent's going to have to discard again here. And then we've got a floating mana, so we can go for Life from the Loam and grab all these things back. That is Cabal Coffers, Tech Edge and Wasteland. So we can make our opponent's land situation a little bit more risky. I'm surprised they went for a shock land there, actually, because they know we have Wasteland and Tech Edge. Let's go in with Gitrog. Doubt our opponent's going to block here. Oh, and a bribery from our opponent. Don't know. Yeah, there's probably something that I don't want our opponent to have with a bribery. Can't think what it might be, though. Okay, they're going for Green Warden of Marassa just to get their bribery back again. They could have gotten something more scary with that. We have Vorinclex, which will give us a hard time. Prime Time they could have got. Rampaging Baloths. Sylvan Primordial. Yeah, there's plenty of scary things that they could have gotten there. But I imagine they're just going to go for it next turn instead. Okay, we'll kill a forest. And we'll grab life from the loam. And then we draw into some cards there. Okay, we have Maelstrom Pulse, so whatever they go for with the bribery, we'll be able to Maelstrom Pulse it at least. Let's go for a couple of Raven's Crime activations, I think. We'll Wasteland first of all. And we'll get rid of that Steam Vents. Our opponent might have a 2-mana counterspell in hand. Okay, and then we Reliquary Tower. Struggling on coloured mana a little bit. Yeah, let's go for Raven's Crime. We'll ditch the Thespian Stage. And still Cabal Coffers isn't great for us, so we'll ditch that as well. And we draw into another swamp, which is nice. That means that we can do more Raven's Crime in a turn. It also makes Cabal Coffers a little bit closer to being relevant. And so far, our opponent's just discarded lands. They don't seem to have a whole lot going on. That is a graveyard full of lands. Only 2 cards left in hand for our opponent. We have an unlimited hand size, so we can go for Cabal Coffers, Wasteland, and a Forest, I think. And then Ancient Tomb does nothing for us. They can gang up on Gitrog if they want to, but we'll kill both of their creatures. So let's see what they want to do here. Yep, they didn't block. I didn't think they would. Raven's Crime we can't cast, so yep, we'll just pass it back over to our opponent. They have a bribery and something else in hand, and they're about to draw into another card. And yet another land for our opponent, so they either drew into that, or that was the card they had previously. Probably going for bribery again here. Now whatever they go for here, we probably just Maelstrom Pulse next turn, and then go for Raven's Crime again to make our opponent get rid of the last card in their hand. Okay, gone for Primeval Titan. See if they get into some non-basics here. They should probably just go for basic lands, because we're consistently getting Wasteland off on our opponent. I thought they'd go for Vorinclex, so I'm quite happy about that, because I don't really like the idea of our lands being put to sleep. But no, they go for a Scryland and an Is It Boilerworks, which is a bounce land. Now, that does give them some discard fodder. Oh no, they decided to bounce the Temple of Epiphany. I think they played the Mountain this turn, so they can't replay that. They can discard the Temple, though, to our Raven's Crime. And then swing it in for 7. Okay, we sack a land here. I think we go for the Ancient Tomb. We're not spending a lot of mana because we're just concentrating on Raven's Crime currently. This is a pretty strange game so far. Grab back our life from the loam. Get a swamp into play. We'll use Wasteland to kill our opponent's Karu land. That'll draw us a card because Wasteland enters the graveyard. Have a look at our graveyard here. We get into Phyrexian Arena, not really too worried about that. Get down the Pulse on the Prime Time. That'll give us free reign to swing through. Our opponent will only be able to take one more from Gitrog Monster. Let's go for Raven's Crime onto our opponent. And we'll discard Cabal Coffers. And we draw into Lotus Cobra. That should help us actually if we can continue to make 2 land drops a turn. Yeah, then that should help us quite nicely. They do discard the temple. We will discard our... Just in case our opponent exiles our graveyard, I want to keep hold of a land destruction thing, so we'll keep the Tech Edge and discard a swamp. And then our opponent might have a bounce spell here. Nope, they're just deciding to get rid of it. Remove X counters from a permanent X counters. Yeah, I don't think that does anything for our opponent. I don't think it does. They might just be doing it for the fun of it. And we draw into another... I'd love to get into a Zeusa or something like that. If we get into a tutor, I think that's definitely what we'll go for. And now our opponent kind of has to hold back here, because if they take commander damage again, they'll be up to 24 commander damage, and that's not something that they want to be taking, I don't imagine. They're in top deck mode. They can't steal an artifact from us with Deck Faden, so they'll have to go loot him, but all they'll do here is draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards, so they're just filling up their graveyard really. Another land, and then a Braid into the graveyard. We'll see if we can get into a targeted removal spell first. We'll get rid of a swamp and draw a card. Okay, Demonic Tutor. Can we go for Demonic Tutor onto Song of the Dryads? I think we can. That'll be... Yeah, we should have enough mana to do that. So let's grab a couple of lands. We'll go for Demonic Tutor and then 3 mana onto Song of the Dryads, and that should do it for us. We will turn Jhoira into a land, and that clears the way for our Gitrog Monster to deal lethal commander damage to our opponent, and they see that and decide to scoop. Pretty strange Gitrog Monster game. You might have noticed there that we were struggling on keeping our land total up. That's why I recommend not getting down Gitrog very quickly, because you have to sack a land every turn, and it's likely that you'll draw into more lands, and if you can make 2 lands a turn and keep Gitrog out, then you can make it work, but it was a little bit clunky, and our opponent didn't really have a whole lot going on anyway. They were just discarding lots of lands. They had an Abrade and didn't really make the best use of the 2 briberies, I don't think. But yeah, the fact that we managed to have our opponent discard their hand made the Deck Faden a lot worse. They could have maybe done a lot more with Deck Faden had they have had some lands to discard to that. Anyway, like I say, a strange one, but hope you enjoyed it anyway. That was the Gitrog Monster versus Jhoira of the Ghitu. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.